I remember reading a bunch of posts on various forums where people essentially showed them beating the game in under, say, 40 hours. These posts would be responded to with people confused as to how they could shoot through the game so fast, or just downright telling the players they were playing the game too fast. It probably didn't help that said players who completed the game were talking about how either bad or disappointing the game was, with complaints of a huge lack of content and all that jazz. And as someone who has around 80 to 90 hours so far, I'm starting to think I feel like I get it. Now, I'm not here to tell you you're wrong or you're dumb for playing the way you did if that happened. The point of this video is really going to be about having a conversation about how Dragon Dogma 2 introduces its content, sometimes even hides it. It demands that you think and find that content yourself in almost every aspect of its systems. It's no handholding to the absolute extreme, and the game isn't afraid to let you just miss out on anything if you don't engage with it on its terms. And the more I play, the more I realize this isn't a game where you're meant to pick up and complete. You're meant to sit back and enjoy it as an experience. When it comes to exploration, Dragon's Dogma 2 will sometimes try to lead you astray or even hide things from you. The path you're following seems to be leading this way, with enemies to fight and even chests to open, but you might have just missed a jumping puzzle heading that way. Following said jumping puzzle would lead you to a dead end, or what looks like one. What is really happening is that the game expects you to think to yourself, well, I just went through a jumping puzzle, there must be something here, and you'd likely be right. You just need to figure out what you're missing and how to solve it, which can be done in a multitude of ways, via vocation abilities, tools, or even simple improvisation. In this example, not only is the chest hidden from sight, there's a large gap here leading to it. Now, this isn't anything new in games, but bear with me, we're ramping up as we go. For instance, the game will even try to hide dungeons from you altogether. Sometimes it will try to fool you into thinking you've completed everything there is to do in this cave with a meaty reward chest, only if you looked up you would notice some climbable ledges and that lead to a breakable wall and you wouldn't have noticed from below as it's hidden behind structures such as trees. And that breakable wall can lead into another dungeon with new enemies and more rewards. Now take that and sprinkle similar mechanics around the map and other dungeons. You've likely missed quite a bit along the way, even if you were thorough. I definitely have. I remember returning to the ancient battlefield various times because I kept finding new things occurring with it. There are times where I found myself just deciding to try something and turned out to work. No tutorial, no interaction indicator. Your pawns don't even have a hint for it. You just have to notice the tools at your disposal and decide to try it. And that's the pattern I'm trying to convey here. Dragon's Dogma 2 doesn't point out things to you. It instead has a focus on you having your own agency in this world and figuring it out for yourself. And the game isn't afraid to simply have you miss out on all that content if you don't notice. Hence why the game director themselves mentioned how many wouldn't even find the Sphinx. And this especially translates into its quest design. Quests are generally a bit more open-ended as you're meant to follow breadcrumbs and tackle them your own way. I remember having plenty of deja vu to when I play Elden Ring when I revisit locations in Dragon 2. There's nothing on the same scale as that masterpiece, but oftentimes new NPCs may show up as well as new storylines and even changes in the location's world state. There are plenty of times where NPCs will simply walk up to you with a request or even pull you aside to tell you something discreet. And this is kind of the normal way Dragon's Dogma will introduce you to quests, but there are often just as many times where it's simply up to you. It's up to you to simply notice that person over there stands out from the rest of the crowd. Notice that during an attack on a village, one of the people fighting alongside you was using a completely different weapon and style from everyone else. Or even just notice that person over there, it keeps appearing somewhere at a certain time. Sometimes you just stumble upon them. And even then, that may not be enough. You may have to proceed to speak to someone who would realistically know something about the situation, or downright improvise on your own by following clues to even initiate a quest. And none of this will even show up in the quest log. This is you interacting with the residents organically of the town, with your own agency as a person in the world. And then there are times when you might feel you've completed quests in a certain location, only if you return after some time, a new situation will occur and new people and quest lines follow. If you simply moved on with the mindset to complete the game, you can easily just miss out on these. Also, quest lines might even complete and the quest log finish, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's over. There may yet still be more you can do if you notice loose ends and follow the context clues. There was one quest where I finished everything, I was rewarded, the quest log thrown into the completed bin, but people were now left without someone to help the sick. They mentioned they do the best they could, but weren't sure of the turnout. Things were left in a possible bad state, but the quest was otherwise complete. Nothing else was asked of me. But then a couple of in-game days passed before I then thought to myself, wait, there was a doctor I spoke with earlier in the quest line. Can I talk to him and convince him to help? And it turned out I could. I could go to him and convince him to help. This wasn't the quest log or anything. This was me thinking for myself and seeing if this could work. I fully expected it not, as the quest was finished, but then again, it did. This moment felt especially rewarding because it wasn't the game telling me what to do. In fact, I was basically told I was done and there was nothing left to do. But it was me as a person, not a player, with their own agency, making decisions that affect the characters in the world. There was more to the story that I could have easily missed, and the game rewarded me with that for thinking beyond the text on screen. And it turns out, many of the quests I came across play like this, and it's why they can be vague and generalized, and meant for you to follow the breadcrumbs and context clues. You're meant to act as if you have your own agency and figure it out for yourself. And so plenty of these same quests have multiple ways to be tackled, and just as many outcomes. Sometimes outcomes which lead to other storylines that you can completely miss depending on your actions. Even side quests that can connect to the main quest itself. Oh, and I haven't even mentioned all the things you can do with forgeries alone. And that theme translates into the rest of the game. The theme that the game expects you to think beyond what is told and shown. It's not afraid to just let you miss out if you don't. In fact, your experience would probably be hampered if you only do what is told and explained to you. I think what they're going for with this is a more lived-in experience. As in, you live in this world. It's why they give you so much agency. Why they demand you have your own agency. Simply sprinting back and forth to deliver a high-value item, why not instead use the forgery mechanic to replace that quest item, turn it in, and keep the real one for yourself? Now, what can you do with that real one? Will turning it in, the forgery item, have an effect on the future? You just created your own story with a fetch quest, one that could have drastically different outcomes to just following the quest log to the T. May have even gotten yourself a better payout in doing so. Again, Dragon's Dogma 2 isn't a game you just pick up with the goal of completing. It's a game you sit back, take your time, and experience. You need to think for yourself while playing. And in a time where games are becoming more and more min-max, meta-focused, and played with efficiency in mind, this style may not translate that well for many. So try to take your time. Try to meet the game in the middle and get the most out of it. And if it's still not your style, that's fine too. Not every game needs to be for everyone, and you don't need to like every game. So that was all just me giving some quick thoughts on a few things about the game. I have criticisms I want to get across, but I do plan on going more in depth about exploration and quest design and other aspects, especially the combat in a future video. But for now, I've been pretty addicted to the game since its release, and I've been struggling to break it. So that's why I've been pretty absent for about a week now. But if you enjoyed the video, it would mean a lot to me if you left a like and subscribed. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.